Hello everybody, I'm back with another Recliner review, this time of the remake of Pet Sematary. It is a remake to the 1989 film adaptation of Stephen King's novel Pet Sematary. I've not read the novel, I've seen the original film a couple times, so a lot of my review is going to be in the context of how it compares to that original film. Is it worth remaking? Did it improve on anything? Did it do anything worse? Stuff like that. As far as that original film goes, I liked it okay. It was one of those premise is better than the execution type films. The type of film that's ripe for a remake, in my opinion. So I was moderately excited for this remake, especially in the wake of It, Gerald's Game, a couple other successful Stephen King adaptations lately. So I was reasonably excited for it. If you don't know, the premise is this. Family of four moves to a countryside cabin type thing, in Maine, of course, as a lot of Stephen King films or novels do. And they discover back in the back of their properties there's this pet cemetery where kids have been burying their pets for decades and decades. But go just a little bit farther past that pet cemetery, you get to a different kind of burial ground. Burial ground in which you bury your dead and they'll come back to life. So that's the setup. Won't get into any spoilers if you haven't seen either the movie or read the book. But that's the basic premise. Sadly, as a lot of remakes often do, to me anyway, this felt wholly unnecessary. It made very few changes to the formula, to what was put in the original movie, to what I think existed in the book. Not very many substantial changes, which makes me ask why even bother. Frankly, I was pretty confused when I got home and read and watched some reviews on the movie after I saw it. Where people were praising it for deviating so much from the the source material, or the original film, because I just didn't see it. Now, most people will point out specifically that there's a role that's swapped here. It was one character's role in the original movie, and they've flipped it with another one here in this movie, which is very shallow change to me because nothing happens to the character in this movie that didn't happen to the other character in the original movie. So yeah, the roles are swapped, but the same exact plot more or less unfolds. It's not surprising at all. So again, I have to ask, why even bother? And one of the biggest things I thought they could have removed from this plot line that was present in the original movie that I thought was completely pointless is a certain character who supposedly serves a role of warning the family against visiting the pet cemetery, which is all fine, but there's another character in the movie that also does that and has far more screen time. So why are you going to include this other character that serves essentially the same exact purpose? And in the original movie, I was like, that's a time waster. Just drop that. You would lose nothing from the movie. So the remakes comes out, and I'm like, all right, well, surely they'll lose that. And it's still in there, and it still serves no purpose because there's another character that does the same with far more screen time and who you care far more about. So again, why bother? And then there are a couple things they allude to in the trailer and in the first act or so of the movie that would have deviated from the original film's plot. I don't know if it would have been good or bad, but it would have been different. And then they go nowhere with it. Now, all of that being said, there were a couple things I thought they improved upon in this remake. And first and foremost, to me, was the acting. Because that original movie has some very hammy, very theatrical acting that just kind of sucks me out of it when I watch that original, because it just doesn't feel so natural at all. When the rest of the film's trying to make you feel like this is a real place and a real environment, the acting stands out as bad. This movie, it's much more down to earth, much more believable. You really bought into the characters a lot more, so I was grateful for that. I also thought this movie explored its themes a little bit better than the original did. The movie's all about death, how we deal with death, mourning, how we deal with the loss of a loved one, and the horror. It's based off of that. And this movie, they deepen a little bit more. I think they take a page from It's playbook, and where the villain in that movie thrives off of your fear, what you're scared of. This movie basically does the same thing to death. where this spirit, there's some kind of entity or something going on where it thrives off of your sorrow. You're being torn up over the death of a loved one. The more hurt you are by it, the more it's drawn to you, stuff like that. So I thought that was kind of neat. Added a little bit something extra that was missing from that original to really punch home the horror of the situation. You know, how far would you go to bring back a loved one? Even if they were changed, if you brought them back, would you, if you could, bring them back? And the repercussions of what comes with that. And that's scary, because I think everyone on Earth's dealt with death in the family. And I'm sure at some point you'd think, man, I'd love to bring them back. And this movie really asked that question. It said, really, would you? You know, careful what you wish for type thing. And I thought that was pretty well, came across well in this movie. And I did think the end was a nice improvement as well. I wouldn't really call it a twist. You know, the ending to the original movie implied what this movie basically just shoves in your face. But it does go that extra step to show you what would have happened moments after the end of the original movie. And it's creepy imagery, if nothing else, but still kind of unnecessary. Just kind of cool to see, I guess. So yeah, overall, kind of disappointed with this remake. I thought it should have attempted to do more. And I know I kept asking throughout this review, why bother making this? And I know why. It's because Stephen King adaptations are hot right now. Remakes of his works are hot. So they're trying to capitalize, and this is one of the remaining well-known titles in his collection of works. So that's why they made it. But, you know, could have been worse, should have been better. It was just fine. I would give it like a 71. Just barely in the average range for me. But that's comparing it to the original movie. Like I said, if you go into this not having read the book, not having read or seen the movie, you're probably going to enjoy it as a good thriller, a good horror movie. I'm just a little more harsh on it because I'm familiar with the original stuff. So that's where I'm coming from. So yeah, if you have any thoughts on the movie, please leave them in the comments below. I'd love to discuss it. Until next time, I'm Matty McMovies. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.